a question. If all of this has been underlying for a person for a long time, and we've just brought this to the surface, and even though that we're clearing it, and there's, you know, the closing and release and the download and all of that, is it possible that that person could then go off and recharge themselves with a whole lot of new emotions around this that then need clearing as well?
Generally not, and that's experiential. And I say generally not because people, once you've moved past this experience, and it's kind of like going and traveling as a good analogy. When you go off and travel, you change. You have all these new experiences, these new events, past paradigms in your own mind get challenged, especially by another culture. And what usually happens for the traveller is they come home and everyone else doesn't see them as a different person. Right? Has anyone else had that experience when they've gone and travelled? Yeah, I certainly have. Yeah. So when you come back, everyone still sees you as the same person. And what they're doing is projecting that paradigm onto you and trying to make you be that. And you realise very quickly you will never be that person again. Okay? Because you've been there, you've learned the lesson. And at learning the lesson we mean that you've processed everything, you've taken everything from the experience, and you probably don't have to have it again. So you don't repeat it.
Is it possible then that you could go through this process, then go and speak to a friend?
And they would recharge you?
Would recharge you?
No. Because you've processed the emotion. You've dealt with the mental paradigm or the mental framework that was holding you back, that would have allowed you to get charged up.
So then is it possible that that person, let's say it was you and I having a conversation, and you know, I've cleared that, but I've just remembered another event that occurred in my past, and all of this other stuff comes up for me at that point? You
will respond differently to that because you're a different person, because you've let go of whatever it was that was charging you
the
up.
person that I'm talking to, because...
Not really, because we've changed you. Once we've changed you, we've changed everything about how you interact with people. So even if there's someone very close, normally because of the connects, you'll learn them later, with the connects, normally your family exerts the greatest pressure on you, or the greatest resonance. So if your family says something, that carries a lot more weight, generally speaking, than it does if a friend says it. But then a really close friend can sometimes even override that. So even if it's that person who's got the highest resonance with you, and they're saying these things to you like, you dated George, you broke up with George, you come in and all it takes for you to get fired about George's Lee goes, that prick. And you go, oh yeah, you know. Lee could say that to you, but you're not the same person anymore because you've let go of all of this. Which means you don't have the regret. You don't have the event being a charged thing. In your lifeline, you've dealt with the past relationship that it was. It's gone. You don't care so much about the divorce because you've processed the past trauma, so it's no longer a past trauma. So it's not the red raw scab that it was. Now it's actually healed up. It's not so tender, it's not so fresh, so when it gets poked on, it doesn't happen. The thoughts that got you to that place where it was a charge have been defragmented, which means you've changed how you think about them. So you can't think in the same old thinking pattern that led you to have that charge in the first place. You've also then dealt with it through all the energetic frequencies of the chakras. So it's not in any of your chakras anymore. It means that from top to bottom, we've kind of cleansed you out, right? That'd be similar to a Reiki balancing. You've also been in better communication with your crown chakra, your throat chakra, and your mentality has completely changed. So you're not going to respond the same way.
So you may not respond the same way, but we're all like an onion, right? We've got layers and layers and layers and layers of all this stuff that we've picked up along the way through our lives. So let's just say that we've cleared all of that one layer off.
Yep.
And that might be a layer that's all the way down here, but then there's another layer that's sitting around here somewhere that needs to be cleared off. And you as a person may have changed your thoughts and changed your perception around things, and that's great. But then you need to go and clear this next layer. Is it possible? Is it possible that somebody else can have an effect on that doesn't know anything about
But that's the next layer, not the layer that you just released. So no one can recharge that layer that we just got rid of.
So not recharging that layer, but recharging, I suppose, something that puts that person into, I don't know, let's just say a bit of a spin, like opening a Pandora's box of all of this stuff where they go, oh my God, I don't know what to do now. Is that possible?
Not really, because remember, it's according to their innate. So their innate is only going to release what they're capable of dealing with at that time. Their innate wouldn't put them into a spin, ever, because that would be destructive in nature. So it's going to give the person, using your analogy of the onion skin, it's only going to peel off one layer that they can deal with at the time they can deal with one layer. If they could deal with releasing 5 layers, it would release 5 layers.
So what you're saying then, if that did happen and 5 layers did come off, all of a sudden that person's able for it.
Absolutely. It's everything we do is dictated by the client's innate wisdom. Their innate wisdom is not going to let them have a meltdown. That would never happen, because again, it's the same as if I pulled a knife out and said, "Can I have your arm for a second?" Right? You're going to say, "Well, no," because what are you going to do with a knife? Right? Your innate will always protect you. That's its primary function. That's the whole function of the reptilian brain. Does that make sense? Yeah. Having said that, you are going to go out the door after you've been in the clinic. You're going to walk out the door and you're going to live life. And you're going to have, well, in this case, Scott will go have another relationship. I hope. I would imagine it's better than the last. Probably going to be able to express himself better. Now, will he have the perfect relationship? Maybe. There's a chance. There's a probability. Probably not. Because what's perfection? You know, certainly not. He's not going to have my perfect relationship, because my definition of perfect is definitely different from his. But he could have a better relationship. That's not saying that relationship won't end. But if it does end, he might come with some more charges, and he'll come with other experiences and other emotions that we need to clear. Right? So life keeps happening. People keep getting sessions. They keep clearing them. Yeah. So as much as we can clear an onion skin, they might generate a whole nother onion skin. But that's different to the one we got rid of.
The reason that I ask this question is there's something that keeps popping into my mind around the psychology of a person, which obviously I don't know anything about psychology. But let's just say you have somebody that's got a really deep-seated trauma around, I don't know, something awful, something really, really awful, and they've kept it so far beneath the surface that they don't even think about it anymore. But it's having an impact on what they do every day, because their subconscious is having this internal trauma. As soon as you bring that up to the surface, and it's not you, it's their innate bringing it to the surface to say that it needs to be dealt with, the conscious mind is then able to do stuff with that, whether that person, or we think that person's capable or not, or if their innate's going to protect them or not. So that's the concern that I have, that they're going to go off into the world with all this stuff in their head. All of a sudden, I haven't thought about that for 100 years, and now it's here, and yes, it's been cleared, but now I still have to deal with it. Because then there's relationships you have
So
to
I'll give you a
deal
real
with.
life example. Had a client that had a massive traumatic rape, repressed it for decades, happened when they were a child, by a family member, trusted family member. One of the most horrific things that I've ever heard. The story is so repulsive and repugnant, I don't even want to tell it. When that person said to me, "I will share this with you," I said, "Please don't." I said, "I've heard enough of these hard luck stories. I really don't want to hear any more." What I hear from clients who we've helped them move past quite often is, you know, the kinds of things that you're stunned that they exist in society. Right? That event came up in graphic, horrifying detail. And that person, sure, came up, they had a cry, not much of a cry, but a little cry, and basically sat on the table and went, "Yep, I've got some processing to do." I said, "Great, fantastic." They went away, they come back next week, and I said, "How'd you go?" And they went, "That was really easy. It wasn't difficult to deal with, wasn't hard. I've dealt with it, it was done, it was released, you know, I'm a better person for it." And it was that. The healing with FlameTree is so seamless. It's their innate, it only releases it when they're ready, and it does so in such a way that it's harmonious and synergistic to them functioning as a human being. Right? So it's the mismanagement that causes trauma, and FlameTree doesn't mismanage because it's the client's innate. So your concern, I get why it's a concern, but with FlameTree it's unfounded. It does not happen. It would defy the laws of the universe for it to happen, because that means that you would put someone in such a negative spin that they would then begin to unravel. And that goes against every survival mechanism that is programmed into the human body. Yep, so does that address that concern for you? Cool, okay. That session belongs to you.
Me? I knew you were going to say that.
You knew I was going to say that? Share with us why you knew that. Because I don't know this story.
Because that's why I went to see George.
Okay.
I actually knew that after, as I said the other day, that I had that rash for all those years. It was around a nurturing thing that I had from my mum at the same time that I married the same kind of person who I didn't feel I got that nurturing from. And so all those things that came during my marriage, I didn't feel like I could say anything to this person because they just weren't open to it, and that was, and I understood that that's where they were, but then that didn't help me.
Yeah.
You know, so I went through 20 years of a relationship, marriage, that I knew I shouldn't have been in. And so, but after I got rid of the thing with George, some of these things came up. But I still knew, I actually said to George not long ago, I need to come back, because I said, I know there's still things related to this that need to go. So.
Yeah. Do I need to bother interpreting it? Not really, because the clients looked at it gone, got it. Right. Understands exactly what it's about. How are you feeling now?
Normal.
Normal. Yep. So all that had to happen was the brain had to be updated, and that's why we teach you, when we teach Connects, last thing you should always do, normally indicated by innate, is low balance.
I'm actually trying to get that emotion back.
You can't.
I can't.
You can hear it in your voice, it's changed. It's
Yeah,
gone up
voice
a
is-
pitch.
yeah.
It's going up.
You're feeling happier.
Yeah, I'm back to normal.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, go on, cry. It's like if I'm booked up.
Which kind of answers the question you asked earlier. Now you've had first-hand, so you had it validated there, and now you've had first-hand experience of it.
So for me to actually trigger that emotion again, I'd actually have to go and find something else to get me to
Absolutely.
Yeah.
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 Brilliant.
Yeah.
Couldn't have said it any better.